tremendous experience within the league, 18 years of coaching experience, 1,200 games, a solid track record of accomplishment in a number of different organizations. I've been in the Stanley Cup Finals 3 times, won a Stanley Cup. So again, we're excited to bring Peter's experience and vision to our team. And I'm very pleased to announce Peter as our new head coach.
Peter, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Pretty special day for me and my family. Before I get going here, I'd like to thank Ted Leonsis and the ownership group, Dick Patrick, and certainly Brian MacLellan and his staff for the opportunity to work for a great organization like the Washington Capitals. And I couldn't be happier to be here. My family couldn't be happier. I've got so many memories going into Washington and listening to the fan base and the fans get behind their team. And I'm pretty excited to have that on my side now. So I've got a great opportunity to work with a great team that has great players, that has proven to be successful in a top team in the league now for quite some time. And for me, it's a real honor and a privilege to be the head coach of this hockey team. So thank you.
Thank you, Peter. At this time, we'll open the floor for questions. As a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please let us know using the chat option below. And please direct your question to Brian or Peter. Again, just a reminder, please keep your cameras off throughout the call. And we'll begin with Samantha Pell with the Washington Post. Sam, please go ahead.
Hi, this question's for kind of both Brian and Peter. For Brian, what made Peter the best fit for this organization? And for Peter, what made the Capitals the best fit for you as a head coach?
Yeah, Samantha, I think it's a good fit for both. I think we have an experienced group. I think we need an experienced coach and the skill sets that Peter brings. I mean, he's a good teacher. He's a good communicator, motivating is one of his strengths. I think he holds players accountable, and I think he does it in a good way. That's in integrity. He's very honest, and I think his track record with different organizations. I think he's been challenged a number of times of having teams that have different personalities in and on the ice, in the locker room and on the ice, and he's been able to adapt to different groups and be successful in the league. So I think it's a good match both ways, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I'm really excited as well, and I think it's a great fit. This is for me as a coach, looking for a next opportunity. I get to get behind the bench of an organization that is willing to do anything to win and be successful. Strong ownership, strong management, and a great personnel on the bench to be able to go out and play the game, and in a successful city as well. And we're excited about coming to the DC area and being part of this community. So for me, there were so many things that checked a lot of boxes that we were looking for our next move, and we're just super excited about that.
Thank you. We'll go to Tarek El-Bashir with The Athletic. Tarek, please go ahead.
This question is for Coach Laviolette. When you take a look at this roster, do you see a group that's kind of close to where you want it to be in terms of the mold you've had in other stops where you've had success, or do you feel like there are going to need to be some tweaks and nips and tucks to get it to your liking? Thank you.
Hey, Tarek. Every stop for me has been a little bit different, and to be honest, no two teams have been the same. And I think when you take over a team, you come in with an open mind and a blank slate on the team and the players and the individual personnel. And then from there, it's about building that, building your identity on the ice, setting a standard of what you expect on a daily basis, working together throughout the course of the year to try and prepare yourself for the playoffs. So I look at it as a great opportunity. If you have a terrific cast of talent that's big and strong and can play the game aggressive and have a chance to be successful on a nightly basis. For me, it's an incredible opportunity. So I can't speak from experience working with this group because I haven't been there yet, obviously, but I am excited to get in there and to start to work with them and build something special. So it's really difficult to compare it. I don't think that you need to have a certain, I don't think you need to have a certain group of people and just that only that group can be successful. I think you have to work with the personnel that you have, and I'm pretty fortunate to have the group that I have to work with.
Scott Abraham with ABC7. Scott, please go ahead.
Congratulations on the job and welcome to Washington. A familiar phrase over the last couple of years in this town is this team's Stanley Cup window is closing in a sense. It's a veteran group, they're aging. Do you believe in such a thing in terms of a cup window? And when you look at this team, the roster, do you feel like it's almost like these next couple of years are their best chances to win a cup because of the aging roster?
You know, this is again, this for me, just looking at it from the outside, this is a team that's been successful. It's, you know, it's difficult in the playoffs to get all the way to the end, and everybody knows that. And I think that's what drives you as a coach or an organization or a player, is to get all the way to the end, play for the cup and put your hands on it. And, you know, to me, I've seen a team that's had success recently, regular season success, some postseason success. And for me, that's a great opportunity. I don't necessarily look at it and say, well, it's got to happen this year. It'll never happen. I'm excited to go in and be here and be a part of this and add any layer that I can as a coach to try and help get to that next step. So, you know, it's kind of a difficult question for me. I don't look at it. If you're asking me what I see, I don't look at it that way, say, well, it's next year or nothing. I look at it and say, this is just a great opportunity. I can't wait to get started.
Thank you. Andrew Knoll with New York Times. Andrew, please go ahead. I think your Wi-Fi is not working properly. You want to try again?
Well, I'm trying to unmute here.
You're good. You're good. Go ahead. All right, we can skip Andrew for now. Let's go to Matthew Paris with the Washington Times. Matthew, please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for doing this. This is for both of, for Brian and Peter. But Mac, you said in July or in last month that you were looking for someone who could push some buttons. So I guess, what did you see in Peter that you liked about that aspect? And then Peter, how do you just go about getting the most out of a group if things go wrong? How do you go about kind of fixing things and your philosophy there?
Matthew, I'll go first. You know, I think Peter has a track record of establishing a culture. I mean, it's one of his priorities. And part of that culture is getting guys to play the right way and holding them accountable to play the right way. And I think it's a big priority when you talk to him. And so I have confidence because he's done it in the past, and it's a priority, the way he speaks about it, the way he communicates about it, with both me and I would assume with players, that that's a big strength of his moving forward. And it's a big reason why we hired him.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, you know, I feel like there's always an opportunity going in as a coach to not only build an identity on the ice, on how you want your team to play and an expectation of what it's supposed to look like on a nightly basis, but also how you're going to build your team internally and how hard they fight for each other, how much they care about each other. And so for me, those are things that you can go in and you can work on a daily basis, both in the room and on the ice. You know, when it comes to holding players accountable, I mean, it's a pretty wide open question. I do believe in honesty. I do believe in directness. I mean, I can be firm and I can be compassionate. I think that you have to be in today's game, but more often than not, you've got to be honest. And when I was talking to this about with Mac about this, you know, for me, before you get to accountability, there's a chance to motivate. There's a chance to push players to have them take the ice and think that the night is going to be successful and that there's going to be great things that happen and you'll find success. And, you know, you don't have to get to the accountability if your team is ready to go and they're on the ice and they're a motivated group. You find you do less with the accountability, but certainly that does play into it as well. I think a coach has to have a lot of different tools in today's game, and those two are a couple of the big ones, from motivation to accountability, but there's a lot of other things that go into it as well. So, you know, for me, it's the freshness of coming into a team that I haven't been in before always excites me, just because it's not only new to them, but it's new for me as well. And it's a chance for really a group to start on page one, on day one, and to build something that could be really, really good.
Thank you. Our next question goes to Tom Galletti with NHL.com. Tom, go ahead.
Hi, Peter. I was wondering if you had a chance to talk to Alex Ovechkin or any other players yet, and just what are your thoughts on coaching him, you know, with the kind of player he is, and from all accounts and from what we've seen, he's really grown as a leader a few years ago, what you're thinking about working with him going forward here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really excited about the opportunity to work with Alex. I haven't spoken with him yet. I mean, things have really unfolded here and to get to this point right now in the last couple of days. And so, you know, on my list of things to do is to, you know, talk to the coaches that we have in place, talk to the staff in place, and certainly starting to talk with the players and leading with Alex. So I'm really looking forward to it. And you're right, you know, in watching him, just going back and watching the playoffs in Washington play, for me, there was a lot of really good things that he did, from using his physicality and his size. Obviously his offense is there, his willingness to block shots in the defensive zone, and his leadership. So all things that, you know, when you're looking at your team, you want your captain to be the guy to set the example and to lead that way. And I thought he was doing that. So I'm looking forward to the first conversation, and certainly looking forward to next year and working with them.
Thank you. Heather McDonough with NBC4.
Hi, Peter. Welcome to Washington. You talked about Alex Ovechkin. If he called up, or Alex or TJ Oshie or Nicholas Backstrom called up one of your former players on the Predators or the Flyers or Carolina, what would they say about you, you know, maybe as a coach, not just the X's and O's, but a leader, good or bad? What do you think that feedback would be from those former players?
It might depend on the player. I don't know. So I would like to think that the players enjoyed playing. They're coming to the rink to play a game that they love. The best way to have fun doing that is to win hockey games. I'd like to think that they say that they really enjoyed coming to the rink. They liked building what they tried to build on the inside. And on a lot of nights, they liked the product that was on the ice that led to wins. And that's what this is all about. So for me, I think if a player said that they love the game, they love playing it. When I was around and we were able to find some success, that would be a good thing.
Thank you. Barry Savluga with the Washington Post. Barry, please go ahead.
A quick one for Mac and then one for Peter. Mac, just logistically, given the state of the world, were you able to hold all these interviews in person? And was it logistically challenging, or did you do everything by Zoom? How'd you handle that?
It's logistically challenging. I met Peter at our office in Washington. We were both able to get there and spend a day together. Met one of the other coaching candidates at his place, and then a Zoom call for another one, and a phone call for another one.
Okay, and Peter, 18 years in the league as a head coach is a long time. I wonder if there's anything that you would say has been consistent in your approach since your first year with the Islanders, and anything that's really evolved as you've learned, you know, just grown as a person and grown with the job.
was talking about this earlier. I was thinking back to my first job in Wheeling, West Virginia in the East Coast Hockey League as a head coach, and just really how little you knew the experience. There was no experience. There was nothing to go by. There was no nothing to look back on and say, I remember being in this situation before, and just systems wise and situation wise and playoff experience, all of that stuff. I think you're constantly learning. I've worked with some really good coaches along the way, all the way back from the days in Wheeling to the New York Islanders and Providence. I mean, all the way up. You're constantly have the opportunity to learn. If you're willing, you have the opportunity to learn from other coaches and other people, and that's one of the good things about having new members and new people on your staff and working with new people is not only do you bring your own ideas on how the game should be played or how something should be handled, but you're also listening to a wide range of other people's opinions, and that's a good thing. I don't think you ever really stop learning. I think you have to keep changing all the time to stay with the game and to stay with the players. And so for that, I've been fortunate. I've worked with some terrific people, I think, that have, helped me along the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Darren Haynes with WSA 9. Darren, please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on the job. You were just mentioning about your journey and where it all started. And now you're here in DC, and I'm wondering, at the end of the day, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind when you end your career, when you retire here with the Washington Capitals?
You know what? I rarely think like that. I just don't think about, like I'll give you, for instance, and Washington probably has their own story because they were able to put their hands on the cup a couple of years ago. Back in 2006 when we were able to win the Stanley Cup, the cup was awesome. Like the Stanley Cup is incredible itself. The actual hardware that you get to hold, and like they say, the greatest trophy in all the sports. But when you're involved in the middle of something like that, and you see a group of players come together and really build something and really believe in each other, and to go out and take the ice and truly think that you can't be beat. To me, that's awesome. And having watched, to be a coach and to be able to be on the inside and be a part of that and watch something like that happen, that's what coaching is all about for me. And so coming to Washington, that's my priority, is to try and build something where when the players take the ice, they truly feel like they're invincible.
Thank you.
Let's go to Andrew Knoll with New York Times. Andrew, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Labby. Great to see you. I just wanted to ask, obviously this is a veteran core, a lot of guys with Stanley Cup experience. How do you balance kind of letting them be themselves and staying with what works with making the adjustments and maybe reinforcements to the culture that you need to kind of maybe right the ship here, as Brian was talking about last month?
Yeah. I think that when you're going into a room, a veteran room, Nashville, when I first started, there was a younger room. Philadelphia was a little bit of a mixed room. We had some veteran players and some younger players. I think it's really important that you work at your game and your identity. But eventually, for me, the communication, and Brian talked about it, the communication between the players and certainly the leadership group, I think, is extremely important, because whatever it is that a coach is trying to project, it has to be received by the players. And inside of that, I think the whole time, from a coaching standpoint, you're trying to set an identity and set that standard on what you're going to expect from yourselves on a daily basis. And so to have a veteran group that's been through it before, and I'm, like I said, I haven't, my phone calls will probably start, tomorrow, and I'll work through the week here, but I'm sure they want to get back. It's just the nature of the beast of competitive athletes, and they want to get back. And so the fact that they're a veteran group, I'm hoping that we're going to work together and that I can push in any way that I can so that we can get back to a level that can get us deep into the playoffs.
Thank you. And we'll go to Jordan Bondurant with the Fan in Richmond. Jordan, please go ahead.
Hi, Peter. I just wanted to ask you about the current goaltending situation. What are your initial thoughts on potentially working with Braden Holtby, assuming he signs an extension with the Capitals, and just your thoughts on Ilya Samsonov as the starter in waiting?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the goaltending has been a strength for Washington for some time now, led by Holtby, and you know, where that stands right now, I'm not sure. With him being a free agent, the opportunity to work with or to have in place a young prospect and a young piece like Samsonov is really, I think, great for our organization. He's a big goaltender. He's proven that he can play. But you know, this is day one without me seeing the players or being on the ice with them. But I know that it's been a strength for the organization for quite some time now, and for that we're pretty fortunate. So I'm looking forward to working with both of them, if that's the case.
Thank you. We'll go to JJ Reagan with NBC Sports Washington.
Hey, Peter, welcome to Washington. I'm just curious, have you made any decisions on a staff yet? Any hirings? What are your thoughts there?
Sure. When Brian and I were talking, we talked about the staff. Again, I'm looking to start conversations and possibly meet. Again, I'm not sure with the world today how that's if it's gonna be Zoom meetings or in person, but there's some great coaches already in place in Washington. They got great coaches in their system, and there's lots of great coaches that are out there in the world. And so, as I left it with Brian, I really don't have an agenda. I'm going to talk with everybody and work to put the best staff that I can in place.
James Murphy with Boston Hockey Now. James, please go ahead. Murph, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. Hey, Peter, congratulations. So I'm just going back to when you were in the Bruins organization, and you had an awesome year with Providence, and you move up as assistant in Boston, but then get passed up on the head coaching job. I'm just wondering, thinking back to then, was there a point where everything was happening pretty quick for you in those 5 years leading up to that? What was that experience like, and how did you get to where you are now from there?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I remember when I first started, I was a player in Providence, and it was Bobby Francis who asked me if I wanted to be player assistant coach, and I had no idea what coaching even meant. I had wondered about where I was going to go with my career. I played in the minors a long time, and so for me, it was an opportunity to get into coaching. After that year, I was pretty confident that I wanted to coach and that I wanted to be a head coach, and so we left for Wheeling, West Virginia. Had just an unbelievable first year there and a great experience with the ownership and the fan base in Wheeling, and really just fell in love with what I do, and was fortunate to come back to Providence as the head coach and spend a couple years there. And like you said, a year in Boston, and not knowing, how it would play out. It was Mike Milbury who gave me my first opportunity, and I'm so grateful for Mike for that, because I was a young coach. Like you said, it moved pretty quick, and I didn't have the experience as a player in the NHL, and I didn't really have a long resume of coaching in the NHL, and with just 1 year as an assistant in Boston, and Mike gave me that first opportunity to be a coach, and I'll forever be thankful for that. So you're right, it was quick the way it happened, but it was also, for me and my family and my wife to experience that early on and get into some conference finals and win a championship and work our way to our first job on the island. It was an awesome experience.
Thanks.
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions, and we'll go back to Sam Powell with the Washington Post. Sam, please go ahead.
Hi, Peter. Just a quick follow-up to your assistant coach question. I know you don't have a staff in place now, but is there a chance that Kevin McCarthy comes up to Washington to be with you?
You know, again, Kevin has been with me now. It's got to be 15 years. I'll never forget, you know, Jim Rutherford. I didn't know Kevin at all when I took him on my staff. Jim Rutherford had asked me to work with the coaches that were in place until the end of the year. I got hired in Carolina in December. And, you know, so it's not like I took my buddy to the bench. And we were able to win a cup in the first full year there. And for me, it was at that point that I realized how special he was as a person and a coach, and the way he could teach. And he had a real way about his personality where he could really be effective with the players. And I think his track record speaks for itself, and the fact that he's been to the finals 4 times and has won a cup. You know, he's a pretty special guy. At this point, I'm not sure what the staff is going to look like. I haven't really talked to anybody about it yet. And again, I want to have conversations with everybody before I mention that, you know, who's going to be on the staff and who's not. I need to do some homework myself, and I need to look into it. So I think we'll work through all of that and probably have announcements, you know, at some point in the future about it.
Okay, and the last question goes to Tom Galletti with NHL.com.
Since I'm last and since I came up before, Brian, can you tell us anything about where things stand with Braden Holtby as far as free agency? Do you expect him to go to free agency or still to be determined?
Yeah, I would expect him to go to free agency, Tom. I mean, it's you know, I think the goalie market is probably a little unusually deep this year, and I talked to his agent, you know, last week briefly about, you know, where he's at and, you know, the kind of opportunities he's looking for. So I would assume he goes to free agency, and we'll keep in contact with him throughout the free agency period to see if he's getting what he wants.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you for your time. Peter, you as well. Thank you all for joining us today, and take care.